Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Today we're going to have a look at my solar tank build, which took many months of grinding to put together. But before we get to that, let's have a look at the build. All right, let's have a look at the gear first, at the armor first, actually. So this is a full set of Overeater solar armor, which is why the grind took me a very long time. Overeaters gives you a 6% reduction per piece, at least up to 6% if you have your food and drink meters full. And solar armor, for those that don't know, it gives you a constant health regeneration, and that's whether you're in combat or out of combat, it doesn't matter. It's a constant 4 health per second as long as your health is over 60%. And I have a mix of the third stars on these pieces, I think none of them are really all that great. But the second stars, I have a mix. So I have one fire resist, one with AP regen, one with +1 agility, not all that helpful, one with radiation resistance, in this case, not all that helpful either, and one with poison resistance. So you can see there I have a mix, and I use polymer on all the mods. So I have them all modded with polymer, and that is my numbers: 275 ballistic, 180 energy, plus 25 poison, 25 fire, and then my what rads gives me radiation resistance. And for those that don't know, the plans for solar armor come from Vault 79. Regs sells them in exchange for gold bullion, and Minerva has them in her inventory from time to time as well. Now, solar armor cannot be dropped, it can't be traded, and it cannot be re-rolled. So every time you want to try for a different combination of effects, you have to craft a new piece. And that takes vault steel, legendary modules, and also other materials that you would use to craft armor. And you get a 3-star piece every time. Now, for the weapon, we are using a Vampire's Handmade. Any vampire weapon will work. Now, as far as mutations go, the only one that really matters in terms of the tankiness of the build is Herbivore, which doubles the benefit of veggie foods. And the veggie food that we actually care about in this case is Company T. We're getting 20% AP regen, and that would only be 10% if we were not using Herbivore. And we're also using Perfect Bubblegum to keep our hunger and thirst topped up. That really matters when you have the Overeater's armor, so we want to make sure that that is 100% all the time, and this lets us do that. Perfect Bubblegum lasts for an hour. Plus, you also get the benefit. If you are fully fed, that's an extra 35 health. And if you're fully hydrated, that is an extra 35% AP regen. So those numbers actually do matter. Now, as far as the legendary perks go, we'll start with those. What Rads is the only one that really comes into effect. What Rads is nice because it keeps, except in a nuke zone, I mean, it'll help us in a nuke zone a little bit, but basically if I'm not in a nuke zone, if I'm not in the pools at Emmett Mountain, Rads are basically not an issue for me, which is super helpful in keeping my health above 60%. If my health bar is full of Rads, then that's going to limit my maximum health, which really could damage the build. So this is important in keeping my health as full as possible. Now, I just want to highlight the defensive nature of the perks because that's really what this build is about. It's about the defensiveness. So I'm using Blocker, which is 45% less damage from opponents' melee attacks. This also helps with your armor as well. If you're not using this perk, that means your armor is absorbing more damage and it will wear out much quicker. There's really nothing under perception. This is a commando build, so there's commando perks. Under endurance, we have Life Giver, an extra 45 maximum health. Ghoulish, this actually synergizes pretty well with What Rads. So I can actually stand in, say I'm at something like Test Your Metal, there's a lot of radiation there. So I can stand in some radiation. I'm not actually losing health or I'm not actually filling up my health bar because What Rads is taking care of that. And Ghoulish is helping to restore my health. Adamantium Skeleton to keep me from getting crippled, and Fireproof to take less damage from explosions. Now, I am running Lone Wanderer. This is designed as a solo build, kind of always has been. I take 20% less damage when I am not on a team, and I gain 30% AP regen, and that AP regen is important. Intelligence, nothing there that helps us with defense. We've got Born Survivor under Agility, and this is only rank 1. This is kind of my in case of emergency card. So far, I've had this build completed for a few days. I haven't even used a stim pack at all, so I haven't gotten into the 20% range, but this is my just in case card. Now, normally, I have White Knight right now. Normally, this would be Sneak 3, but because the way I'm testing, I'm just letting enemies pound on me, that does take a toll on my armor. So this just helps me to repair less. But normally, I wouldn't run this way. Normally, I would just run Sneak in there. And we have Dodgy. Avoid 30% of incoming damage at the cost of 30 action points per hit. And this is why all that AP regen is important. On a typical build, I wouldn't necessarily run this card, especially if I'm using VATS, because it's very difficult when you have if you're basically being attacked by an enemy constantly and it's draining your AP. trying to use VATS at the same time could be kind of a problem. But in this case, with all that AP regen we have, this is typically not an issue, as we'll see. Now, this is a critical build, so I do have critical savvy, better criticals. But the important card here for our purposes is Ricochet. So 18% of the time, or yeah, an 18% chance of reflecting enemy attacks back at them. This works very nicely with having a vampire weapon that we have. So whenever the reflection happens, whenever this card triggers, that shot will actually ricochet back at the enemy and give us a little bit of healing at the same time. So it's a really nice synergy there. All right, so now it's time to go for a little stroll through a town where maybe we're not all that popular. Well, let's see how we do. Even the dogs don't like us. So let's go into the worst part of town and see how we do. All right, we need more people shooting at us. Someone in here. Oh, there we got a minigun. Miniguns are always fun. But as you can see, we can get them all shooting at us. Now this guy, I don't know what he, come on out. He's trying to shoot through walls over there. But as you can see, our health bar is basically pinned to full health. Oh, there we go. Now we got a minigun coming in. Miniguns are actually pretty, ooh, there we go. Now we're actually losing health. But, yeah, then the vampire effect triggers. But I don't know if I could do this all day. I mean, eventually the armor, well, even if the armor broke, our resistance would go down, but the overeaters effect, yeah. Eventually we'd probably succumb to the super mutants here, but I'm thinking it would take a really long time. And plus we have that vampire, or we have Ricochet, so they should all be taking damage a little bit. Let's see if we've affected their health bars at all. Not much. See, his health bar's down a little, his health is down a little. So it'd be kind of an interesting experiment, but I wouldn't want to stand here for that long to see if the Ricochet effect would eventually take them all out before we died. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long. It would probably take several hours of standing here. But I think we get the point from this one. Oh, there's the minigun doing a little bit, and then vampires triggers, and our health comes back. So as you can see, we could take, we could go to the worst town, the worst part of town, and still do just fine. Oh, and here is our, let's do a little bit of atsing here and see how we do. Just for fun purposes. So even though we have dodgy going, and that is actually using up AP, we have that AP regen. You can see our AP bar just really doesn't, I mean, that was a big chunk there, but for the most part, our AP bar isn't that effective. Company T is really good for AP regen, so we can do the occasional vatsing and still be okay. Look at that, our AP bar is back to the top, and of course, as we get fewer enemies, it's less of a thing. But yeah, running, oh there, yeah, our AP went almost all the way down to the bottom, but you can see that's really not much of an issue. All right, we're in a rad storm, which should actually work to our benefit. Rad storms don't really give a lot of radiation, but it should help with ghoulish. But let's make this Assaultron angry. And come on, turn red. There we go. Let's see how we do there. Now, I imagine eventually, the thing about an Assaultron, if they kept the head laser up, it would probably force me to use a stim pack at some point. But they take little breaks here and there. And that's a fun shot, though. Got the little top-down isometric view here. But yeah, the Assaultron is doing the most damage so far. It's interesting that one Assaultron is actually a little more deadly than a whole town full of super mutants. But then the Assaultron kind of takes breaks. So it thinks about what it's done, and so it lets our health stay above that 60% level. It's like the Assaultron gets bored, something, I don't know. But that is I love this. I think that's fun. And then Ricochet with the vampire weapon triggers and gets our health back to full. Not a huge problem. I'm not sure what multiple Assaultrons would do. Let's, I wonder if I can get it to fire. Okay, let's see if I can get another Assaultron angry. I'm actually kind of curious. I haven't tried this before. There's the other one. Now, this may prove fatal. I don't know. And there I am holding no weapon at all in my hand. I'm pretending. I'm pretending like I have a gun. Yeah, 2 Assaultrons might actually do me in. And then I'll get below that that 60% threshold. Yeah, 2 Assaultrons, I think will get me there eventually, down to the 60% or below the 60% level. I am kind of curious. Let's see what happens if I can get down the 20%. and trigger the Born Survivor. Yeah, see, now I'm not regenning. I'm below 50%. So now I am, yeah, now I'm in trouble. So we will trigger my in case of emergency card for the first time. Eventually, this character has a lot of health, so that 20% threshold is actually fairly high. Are we not there yet? There we go. So there's my, Sultrons are doing their best to keep that from healing me all the way. So I could actually hold out here until I ran out of stim packs, it looks like. But still, 2 Assaultrons, more dangerous than a whole town full of super mutants. I was kind of hoping I would have some kind of fun horde event pop up. I did have an Angler horde earlier, but it was before I was recording. But that would be a fun one to do. I did just fine against a whole horde of anglers, but let's see how we are. This is a silo. So we have turrets, we have robots, and let's see how we do. Now, turrets have been tuned down since the last update, and I didn't get this build completed before that update happened, so I wasn't able to see how this would do against how the turrets were before. All right, now we've got a robot in the mix. Let's see, let's get one. Oh, there we go. Let's get some flame going. And, yeah, because of the high fire rate, it seems like high fire rate weapons actually trigger the ricochet effect a lot more. And you can see our AP really isn't, even with dodgy, that AP, oh, there it went almost all the way down. But it doesn't look like our AP bar really ever gets depleted just because our AP regen is so high. So Company T with Herbivore is very important to this build. That makes a huge difference. I also suppose if you had a full set of AP Refresh armor, that would actually help as well. But I do like having the ability to mix in some resistances, some fire, some poison as well. Oh, yeah, our AP bar got almost all the way used up there. It's getting put to the test, but our health really isn't moving from full. It just kind of is pegged at 100%, which is kind of nice. It's hard to do this outside of power armor. Let's see if we can get a couple of flamers at once. They've also been tuned down a bit. But if we can get, there we go. Let's get some, I don't know why this guy doesn't want to come out and play. Come on. We can get, there we go, multiple flamers, and let's get as many robots as we can. Let's make it like a rave. Okay, now we are starting to, we are taking damage, but then it heals right back up. That's kind of a fun shot. Zoomed out as much as I can be indoor. Okay, so we've got 3 flamers, gutsy flamers, and the turrets. And yeah, it's actually going rather well. I'm not sure about the state of my armor. Let's see. Yeah, this is, so I repaired this with an improved repair kit before I started the video. So even with White Knight, not shooting back really does affect things. When I was, yeah, you can actually see the health bar of the armor move as I'm just taking a beating. Now legs do take a beating the most. So if you are running something like this, I recommend shooting back because letting them shoot you forever just means you're gonna burn up your repair kits. And there you have it, my solar armor tank build. It was quite the grind to get here, but I'm very happy with the results. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit one of the buttons down below, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.